Welcome to MAT, the Museum of Art, Architecture and Technology in Lisbon. I'm Beatrice Leanza, I'm the director of the museum. For the sake of those that will be watching this session of today online, this is the third day in a 3-day program, and also the last, that we have co-developed at MAT together with TBA 21 Academy as part of a series of public programming, public projects connected to the exhibition that is now on view here at the museum, and it will be until September 6th, titled Aquaria, or The Illusion of a Boxed Sea, curated by Angela Rui. This series of projects that have been unfolding since April and will throughout the summer really wish to put the institution, to put the museum in collaboration and in partnership with a variety of different entities, organizations, not solely devoted to arts and culture, with the aim of setting off new directions, new perspectives and research agendas through which museums can really reposition themselves within a wider set of cultural practices, of social practices that concern our present and our collective futures. Specifically, this program was intended to really set off a new way also for cultural institutions, though, to work together. So I'm indebted to the work of TBA 21 Academy, to Marcus Raymond, the director of the Academy, that unfortunately could not be here with us today, as in this present moment, due to new waves and new challenges that this pandemic has presented to all of us, a lot of aspects of this program had to be a little bit adapted. They haven't taken anything out of the experience and what has been brought forward. The program entitled Architecture of the Enclosed Sea, which is this 3-day project, was guest curated by Louise Carver, who is going to be our host today. She will introduce, I will let her introduce the program and what has happened in the previous 2 days and what they are going to discuss today in this series of talks, presentations and screenings. So without further ado, Louise, I will leave you the word. Perhaps you're going to introduce Marcus, that I hope is going to be joining us online shortly. But I'll leave you the stage. Thank you very much.
For making possible this inquiry and the discussion on architecture of the enclosed sea, between Aquaria and Marine Protected Area. I think I'll take this particular enclosure off. It's truly a pleasure to have the unique opportunity to bring together folks from the conservation and the political ecology communities into direct discussion with those from the history of design, architecture and art to explore these questions. I think we have so far seen from our previous days' workshops how much resonance there is between these two communities. Over the past 2 days, through workshops with policymakers, researchers, artists and economists during a field trip to Sagres, we have been collectively exploring whether the expansion of marine areas classified as protected will serve to protect the life-giving conditions of the oceans. And we've questioned who stands to win or lose from these arrangements. We examined the question of protein through aquaculture and fisheries and marine spatial planning. Today we can see a dramatic scaling up of the Marine Protected Area Network through the Convention for Biological Diversity's new decade of program under the auspices of 30 by 30, which presumes that 30% of the global oceans should be designated as protected by the year 2030. But despite this growth and the measurable success in the areas designated as protected, questions remain about the dynamic and contingent processes of establishing lines on a map, as the experiences will always be informed by the specifics of place, politics, and a unique set of possibilities or closures. Lisa Campbell, the Rachel Carson Professor of Marine Affairs at Duke University in the US, joined us yesterday to talk about marine protected areas as having impacts on people, resources, and marine environments which are multiple, complex, and specific. There is no singular story here. And ocean conservation, its effects and experiences, is a layered mosaic that intersects with people's livelihoods, food cultures, wider political and geopolitical interests, historical processes, and cultural imaginations of the sea. The Marine Protected Area Conservation Technology is a spatial approach imported from land-based practices. But can this technique of drawing lines on the surface of the sea account for the flux of watery space below? To what degree are efforts to secure marine territories a distraction from the structural, economic, political, and material drivers of the Anthropocene, which are in some senses metaphorically the water that we swim in? It is here that the programme interrogates the illusion of the boxed sea, lifting from the research and art produced in and through the Aquaria exhibition showing here at MAT until September, curated by Angela Rui. Aquariums are volumetric indoor bodies of water. Marine protected areas, on the other hand, are aerial ocean territories spanning tens to tens of thousands of square kilometres. Both are spatial practices rooted in modernist worldviews, invented 100 years apart, for people to know, manage, and experience ocean life. But we're here today to investigate what other common stories can be told along the scale variants of boxes that enclose the sea. So our programme today begins appropriately with a session called Boxing as Method, which historians of science Susan Bauer and Martina Schlunder will present for us as an epistemological foundation for our preoccupation with boxing things. From here, we will hear from Mohamed Arju, Hugo Van and Moniba Isaacs about efforts to scale up boxed water under the new global arrangements for 30 by 30, which call for 30% of ocean water to be conserved by 2030, adding their research experiences of what this might mean in practice and why we should be wary of such simplistic and globalistic targets like this. Afterwards, in a panel with Roy Salgueiro Barrio and Samantha Muka, we enter into a direct dialogue about the geopolitics of planetary rewilding, such as 30 by 30, and the distributed conservation practices of aquarists who make use of miniature ecosystems as laboratories to support coral restoration processes in marine conservation. Angela Rui will then moderate a session that explores the backstage or the control room of these ecosystems, looking at the technical designs and the processes of keeping everyone alive in both aquaria and marine protected areas. Peter Chermayoff, who is the architect of the Lisboa Oceanario and many others around the world, will join in conversation with aquarium scholar and architect Carsten Chan to unfold Peter's original vision for Lisbon's famous aquarium and its unique relationship to marine conservation. And finally, artist duo Fraud will outline their artistic research that examines the EU's Fisheries Resources Initiative, showing that through historical colonial processes of the 19th century, which emerge today as neo-colonial continuations, the resource politics of marine extraction is a bigger story which highlights how ecologies are inherently political, historically shaped, and we would do well to remember this as the world converges over new spatial targets, which are designed and promoted by these very same powers. So I would like to thank Beatrice at MAT and Marcus at TBA, who I hope is going to join us for an introduction in a moment, and also Carsten Chan for his contributions to the programme. So if Marcus can take over, and then I will introduce the first speakers.